My name is Nick Wilson and I'm taking on a humongous 385 mile cycle challenge.
I've come to support Nick Wilson and the 385 challenge that he's doing for Talk Mental Health for Men's Mental Health Awareness Week.
I met Nick through a Facebook page for the suicide male group in Toaster, and he mentioned to me that he needed somebody to drive a van on a challenge, and it just so happens I have the licence to be able to drive that vehicle, so I put my hand up in the air and volunteered my services as a ex-serviceman wanting to support the group.
Me and Nick run the men's support groups and the Talk Mental Health in Toaster, and I'm here really to support Nick on the bike ride, but also do bike ride myself. It's a challenge for anybody, and not to mention Nick with his issues and conditions on a trike. So for me, it's also doing the challenge myself. It is a big ride.
I've met 3-4 guys that I've never met in my life, so there's always a little bit of anxiety about meeting strangers and spending so much time in a camper van, sort of living on top of each other.
So we all seem to get on well and bonded as a team, and we have one goal to achieve, which is to get to Nick to Land's End in one piece safely. So it was just a matter of, yeah, let's get on with it and get to know each other.
My role has been to lead the way, to make sure that Nick has got a clear path, to allow traffic to pass a little bit more easily, and to make sure that Nick's navigation works so that we are almost continuously moving. Nick finds it difficult to stop and start on the recumbents, so just really trying to lead the way and keep Nick moving. We set off from Margate to cycle to Land's End, doing 385 miles to represent the 385 men that take their own lives from suicide.
Each day is approximately a 55-mile ride, although some have been a bit more. We have done, I think the longest we did was a 63-mile stint.
The heat on this ride has been horrendous, so we've been suffering from sunburn, heat exhaustion, not being able to get enough liquids down us. We've had Nick who got injured, so we've had to sort of alter the original plans. So Nick's done a few less miles on a couple of days, but as a team, we've continued, we've persevered, and we've just made sure that we are representing the men that have taken their lives through suicide through the miles that we've done on this ride.
Logistically, there's been a lot of challenges with moving people around from site to site, dealing with the public, because obviously we're doing this in a public environment where we have a lot of people around us, some people interested, some people not interested, so that's been a challenge.
When we first set off in the morning, I was feeling pretty good about myself. I was feeling quite strong the first few days. Had continued to build my strength, and I'd actually managed to get over 50 miles in each day. So by that time I was feeling quite strong. I wanted to get a big hill under my belt because I knew later in the week we were going to be hitting some really steep inclines. I hit this hill and I was slowly going up, and it was becoming harder and harder, and the harder I had to push against the pedals, the more it was pushing my spine back into the seat. Got to the top and so I did achieve that. However, the impact on my knees, because I've got arthritis in my knees, they began flaring up and started to pinch on the inside of my knees, and with the massive increase in pain in my spine, which then was going down my arms, and my neck muscles were beginning to go into spasm, and I just got into a really bad place, and I just had to tell the guys that we need to stop, and I just collapsed in the chair crying, and I couldn't go any further. It was at that time the decision was made to call the safety vehicle and for them to come and pick me up.
Like a true ex-serviceman, he carried on to the end, and unfortunately we found that he was struggling. So we had to then take charge of the situation and make an early break and get him back into a safe environment where he could recoup to carry on with it. Otherwise, I think we wouldn't have been able to carry on, and we would have called this at an earlier point.
I felt like I'd let people down. I felt disappointed in myself. I felt like it was game over. It was great to see Ryan and Keith when they came back, and you know, when they said they didn't think there'd be any way that I would have completed the other side of the ferry, it seemed to be that it was the right decision to make at that point. And I did feel a bit better because at least we still paid respects to the men that day. But I was really concerned about moving forward and what did this mean for the remainder of the challenge.
But he's learned from that, and we've all spoken about it. We had a good group meeting last night, and we discussed everything about it, and it's all positive.
The next day was great. Whilst in pain, I felt mentally quite strong and positive. We had a plan, and it was a good plan. And we set off, and I completed 12 miles, I think it was. And I'd also managed to get over 2 big hills that we were looking at. The support vehicle recovered me and taken me to the top of the hills just because I wouldn't be able to manage it. But I managed it, and that for me was, especially after the day before, that was brilliant. And I felt quite proud of myself actually, that I'd actually managed that. The support vehicle came and picked us up, and we shot on to the campsite for that evening, and Ryan and Keith carried on.
So yesterday we climbed approximately 600 foot throughout the day, but over 50-mile journey, so that meant we were climbing nearly continuously all day.
We've done 225 miles as of today across the various stages, and it's been tough, it's been hot, it's been busy with tourists. The roads have been undulating, to say the least, over the last couple of days.
We received the devastating news that literally a mile away from the campsite there'd been a road traffic incident involving Keith and Ryan.
I'm okay, the bike isn't. We're just about here, finished probably the toughest day we've had, and we came across a car coming towards us very quickly, and I went straight in the back of Ryan, who had to do a very quick stop.
We were cycling down one of the very narrow paths that we have here in Sidmouth, and the paths aren't big enough to get a car and a bike through, even my very narrow bike. Keith's on a slightly wider mountain bike. I braked suddenly because of an oncoming vehicle, and Keith just ran straight into the back of me. He went head over handlebars, landed really well to avoid any injury, but his rear derailleur on his bike hit the ground and has just smashed to pieces.
Do we carry on? Do we try and source these parts from somewhere else, or whether we knock it on the head and then come back to it at a later stage when we can carry on this challenge and finish it off?
It's something which is repairable, but over a long waiting time for parts. So yeah, it's really gutting that we've had to call it on my bike at the moment.
Keith couldn't carry on. He literally had a broken bike and there was no way we could get parts in time. And so the day after we had to call it for me, we had to make the decision that it would be unsafe to carry on, because Keith is my support rider. You know, he's there for safeguarding, he's there to support me, and I was pretty broken and battered. And it would mean going into the 2 hardest days of the whole challenge by myself, with hardly any phone signal and just the whole thing. And so we had to call it. And we decided that we had to come back home.
Things go wrong and things break and situations happen that you can't plan for. The damage was done to the bike, and we're now in a situation where we haven't got spare parts to fix the actual bike.
We've got about 165 miles to do, so we're going to leave here today. We're going to travel back up to the Midlands, and for myself back up north, and a later date we will regather, we'll meet up, and we will fulfil the obligation and the respect that we wanted to give to the men that have taken their lives.
There has been emotional challenges, there's been challenges in terms of managing ourselves through through some of the restrictions we have. But no, it's been a good journey, and I'm just gutted we have to call it here, really.
Whilst it has been a challenge, it's also been a challenge that we've all met, and we've all bonded and come together to be this 385 challenge team.
It's given me strength and reassurance that if I need anybody to support me, I've got a team of people around me that I can go to at any time and not be afraid to raise my hand and say I need help, and they will jump and look after me.
I'm speaking to the members of the team, I'm speaking to other people, and the massive response, positive response we've had from all of you out there has just kind of blown me away. And we really, truly encourage every single one of you out there to please follow hashtag 385challenge. Go to 385challenge.online. Get on board, join us. Follow the journey.